Silly of me to think that in the 21st century, we finally made a change as men when we decided we was going to listen to women. Silly of me to think that after the Me Too movement, that we finally were going to give women a seat at the table. That we're going to take a long look, not just at inequality, not against discrimination against women, but we're actually going to put laws and make changes in our behavior as men, in our behavior towards women. Silly of me to think that we as men turned over a new leaf and we recognize that women should and do have a voice. That women are truly are more important, or very important, and should be respected. Silly of me to think that we were going to respect them. Silly of me to think that we were going to create a new foundation for our daughters, for the future women in this country, and we were going to respect them. Silly of me. Because all these beliefs I found out was all a lie. Welcome to the Past to Present podcast. I'm your host, Alan the Great One. Thank you for being here for another episode, for another show. We got a lot to get into, so let's get straight to it. You already read the description and title, so you know what we're here to talk about. In multiple states, in fact 12 states, a new law has been written into law, the abortion law. That's right, peeling back Roe versus Wade, which we'll get into in a second. Now, abortions are being outlawed and allowed in 12 different states, including Missouri, Mississippi, and more importantly, Alabama, which we'll talk about. And in the state of Atlanta, like most of you say, really Atlanta's not a state. Georgia's the state that abortion law has been put in place. But a lot of y'all like to say Atlanta, and I hear a lot of talk that Atlanta has changed the new abortion law. Atlanta's not a state, people, it's a city. But Georgia did join in on this new abortion law. But none of these places law is as egregious as Alabama. Alabama has created a law where they forbid all abortions under their law, but there's one circumstance, there's only one loophole in Alabama that allows women to get an abortion if the mother's life is at risk due to medical reasons. That's the only way you can get abortion. Now, if a woman is raped in Alabama, she's not allowed to get an abortion. If a woman is pregnant by incest, she's not allowed to get an abortion. If the child or fetus is in danger of deformalities, she can't get an abortion. If a woman decides, I was in an interracial relationship and I don't want to have this child due to an interracial relationship, she cannot have an abortion. So much so, this law is egregious that doctors in the state of Alabama can be sentenced up to 99 years in prison and the loss of their license for attempting to give abortions. This is real, people. It has gotten real. But we're putting the horse way above the wagon, and we need to backtrack a little bit because we need to go back into history so we can go from the past and move on to the present. I know y'all don't like history. I know y'all don't care about history, but just please bear with me for a second. For all you out there right now who say, well, I'm older, I don't really care about abortion because I'm not having children no more. So all the people who are out there for religious reasons say, well, you know what? I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe in it. For all the people out here right now saying, well, I'm pro-life, so I don't really agree with this. For 1 second, for one moment for this show, please, just lend me your ear. Let me your ear for a second. And don't allow me, I'm not asking for the opportunity to change your mind. I'm just asking for the opportunity to be heard. So just hear me out as I reflect back on some of the history in this country and talk about the current situation and why we all should care about the new abortion law. Let's get right into it. In the early 1700s to 1800s, in America, abortion wasn't a main topic of discussion. There wasn't anti-abortion. There wasn't really much speculation, comments, or dialogue about abortion. It wasn't until the 1900s, in fact, 1930s, where the Roman Catholic Church started to speak up in this country about abortion, where they speak about abortion, where they started to talk about why abortion shouldn't happen in the country. Soon after, abortions were banned in all 50 states. They were banned in all 50 states. And New York and I believe Georgia were the first two states to actually turn over this law and to allow abortion. Now, we talked about Roe versus Wade. And many of you probably don't know what Roe versus Wade is. Some of you do. But before we get to Roe versus Wade, we got to go back. We got to go way back in time, to Connecticut versus Griswold. Connecticut versus Griswold was a very important case in what we're talking about today and what we're dealing with today because it also was the prequel to Roe versus Wade. For you don't know about what was Griswold versus Connecticut, it was a case where Griswold was arguing back against privacy in their doctor's office. A woman having the privacy, having given the equal rights of privacy in her doctor's office. Think about that for a second, women. How important is privacy in your doctor's office to you? How important is privacy? Just think about that for a second. Griswold versus Connecticut was a case that set the tone for Roe versus Wade. Why did it set the tone for Roe versus Wade? Well, because Roe versus Wade was exactly about abortions, about overturning abortions. Roe versus Wade was set in the state of Texas, where at the time, and I believe it was in the 1970s and approximately 1973, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, please, in the comment section, let me know. But Roe versus Wade in Texas was a state that had the same abortion laws that we're dealing with right now in Alabama. That's right. Abortions were completely outlawed in the state of Texas at this time. And the only way a woman is allowed to get an abortion was similar to the Alabama law if her life was in danger. Her health was in danger, excuse me. Roe versus Wade was a very pivotal case in the history and in women's rights in general, because Roe versus Wade was the case that outlawed or relieved the ban against abortions. And what they did was they argued the case versus Griswold versus Connecticut, which impeded on women's privacy in doctor's office. Women's privacy. In the Bill of Rights, we are all given privacy. We're all given the right of privacy, not just in our doctor's office, in our general life. We're all given the right to privacy. It is in the Constitution. It's in the Bill of Rights. It's an amendment under law. But those rights were being impeded on, and Roe versus Wade turned over those rights and ended abortion in Texas. So we fast forward today, because I know y'all don't like talking about history, so we'll move on from Roe versus Wade, and we'll move on to today's problem. Today's problem, we got the conspiracy theorists right now who are looking at the abortion, this new abortion controversy and this new abortion law being put in places like Alabama. They're saying, what are they trying to distract us from? Because they're trying to distract us from something. There's more to this story. Well, the moral to this story is, and the moral to the story of these conspiracy theorists are looking into is that our rights, and more importantly, women's rights are being impeded on. They're being invaded. They're being invaded. That's right, women. Your rights are being invaded. Even you, women, who are out there right now, who are of an older age, who's saying to yourself right now, I do not want to have kids. To the women who are right now saying, I am pro-choice. Pro-choice. And if you don't know what pro-choice means, they believe a baby should have life. That a fetus that is being grown into a woman is an actual person and deserves the opportunity of life. Which I agree with. Everybody deserves a chance at life. But I'm looking at this, I'm looking at Congress, and I'm looking at these men who are making these decisions on women's health, on women's body, and who are taking away a woman's choice, a woman's voice to have a baby. And I'm asking you, how many men can actually carry a child? How many men actually experience a pregnancy, experience pregnancy pains? And if we never experience these things, how do we have such a louder voice than the people who do? How do we have a seat at the table to speak about this and further make decisions on whether a woman should or shouldn't have a child? How? It's a question we got to ask ourselves today, and I don't have the answer to it. Because as a man, aren't we just starting to play a little too much like God? Aren't we starting to really invade a woman's privacy? Now we're starting to find our way not only into a woman's bedroom, but into a doctor's office. Two places that are sacred for women. Their bedroom and a doctor's office. Two places that the government definitely should not be. A decision that shouldn't be made by the government. And I know some people out here are saying, and I had a conversation with my wife, she said, well, at a certain point, a heartbeat is heard. If the heartbeat is heard, then that child, that baby is an actual baby. Then it's a person. And we shouldn't want to be able to abort a baby once a heartbeat's heard. And I said, I agree with that. I do agree with that. But then I said to myself, I said to my wife, you got to think about another thing, though. What about some of the complications that a baby could run into, that a mother could run into, deformities that a baby could experience, that will restrict their life, even after being born? See, some deformities, even after a heartbeat, can't be detected until well beyond the heartbeat. And a baby mortality rate is less than 3 days. But you can't detect that before the heartbeat. Doctors can't detect that. Then I said to her, Are we really getting to a point in this country now that we're throwing doctors in jail? That we imprison doctors for giving medical care to their patients? Or are we asking doctors to bypass their commitments to their patients? The commitment to privacy to their patients, the respect of the privacy of their patients. Aren't we asking them to intrude on those things? We're actually threatening to put our doctors in jail. We're leaving them on their license. What about these women who live in Alabama and these states who cannot afford to travel to other states to get abortion? What about the fact that women who are being raped and are forced to carry a pregnancy after such a traumatic event that they would like nothing more to forget, to not continuously be reminded of or relive? Are we thinking about that? Are we thinking about them people? Then you're probably looking at the statistics, excuse me, getting tongue-tied. You might look at the statistics in Alabama and say, well, only 5% of women who get abortion that got raped and had a pregnancy through rape get abortion. 5%. That's not much. So we're going to really change the law based on 5% of women? Why not? See, this problem in this country right here. One of the problems in the country is we frown upon and look down on the minorities in this country. And I'm going a little off subject for a second, but we frown upon them. So you tell me that 5% of people shouldn't have a voice? They shouldn't have a right? What about the people who have incest, whether it was consensual or unconsensual? What about that? What about the deformities that that baby could suffer? What about it? We talk about pro-life. We talk about pro-choice. But isn't Alabama one of those states that has the highest death penalty rates? That they put more people to death than any other state? I know we're talking political now. We don't want to go there. But I'm just saying, we pro-life, right? I thought so. The interesting thing is, I feel like if we're going to make such a decision, shouldn't we have more women at the table? Shouldn't we listen to the woman's concerns, the concerns of doctors, people who are truly educated and have the proper and have more information on this subject? I mean, normally when we make decisions and we make tough decisions, we usually ask the people who have information and who are knowledge on it. I mean, think about it for a second, all right? Last time I checked, I didn't go to an ice cream parlor with my car asking the person making my ice cream cone, hey, you know, what do you think about my brakes? You think I need to change them, or will I be okay for another 3,000 miles? I'm just saying, last time I went to a Burger King or a Chick-fil-A, one of my favorite stores, I didn't ask the person sitting here serving me my Chick-fil-A sandwich or my soda, hey, do you think I need an oil change, or you think I can make it another 300 or 400 miles? I'm sorry, I didn't ask them, because normally I would go to a mechanic to ask them about issues with my cars. I actually go to people who have knowledge about that to ask them to make a decision, help me to make a decision on what do I do with my car. But what we're doing, when we're thinking about abortions and women's health, what we're doing is we're going to men and people who have no knowledge on the subject to make a decision about this. We're making a decision. Men do not have any experience with having children. And unless I'm mistaken, I don't see too many men of Congress who are sitting there who have experience, doctor experience, have this type of experience and knowledge about abortions and about mortality rates of a baby. I don't understand. But we don't think about that. That doesn't matter. Because next time something goes wrong with your car, I tell you what, don't go to your mechanic, don't go to your dealership. This is what you do, okay? Next time something goes wrong with your car, is what I want you to do. I want you to drive down to the nearest Burger King, okay? The nearest Walmart, and not to the tire changing section. I want you to go to the cash register and ask them for information about that. Ask information about that. Other programs that's put in jeopardy is Planned Parenthoods. Planned Parenthoods who offer more than just abortions to children, other health needs to people. Mostly people who are poor, people that can't afford regular health benefits, health checks. What about that? What about mammograms? At what point we start impeding on this privacy for women, we start peeling back these rights for women, at what point do we start to go and we start to move into the lane of other things? And the insurance companies stop paying for mammograms. Stop paying for other important tests that women may need for health reasons. And for you men or people who don't know what mammograms is and these checks, checking women for breast cancer. What happens when insurance companies start really lobbying these congressmen to pull back on other laws and other needs of women. For all of you women out there right now who say, well, it's not going to affect me because I ain't have no more babies. I'm done. I got my tube side. I'm done. I ain't have no more kids. I'm through with that. What about them? I always say, what about your kids? But see, I learned something. A lot of people would not think about their kids' future. Honestly, you're not thinking about your kids' future. Your spending habits to tell you that. You don't really not think about your children's future. The fact that you're still renting tells me that and not buying a house. The fact that you're not saving anything, you don't have life insurance, tells me that you don't really care about your child's future. I ain't here to judge you. I ain't here to tell you what you do. Don't get mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying. When we look at the facts, certain things point to certain things. Okay? Certain things point to certain things. So I don't really use the idea of the argument to say, well, what about your kid's future? What about your daughter's future? Because we're not really thinking about that, are we? But you gotta ask yourself, does Congress think about children's future? What about our daughters? What about those women being raped? What about the women in incest? What about these women's health? What about the mortality of the child? What about just respecting a woman? How far are we going to let this go? I mean, women are already not experiencing equal pay, equal opportunity. Inequality is still a big thing. Discrimination towards women is still a big thing. I mean, I'm just wondering, at what point are we going to stop? Are we going to stop the madness and start to decide that we're going to respect our women? One of the ways you can fight back against this is by stop crying about, I'm not voting because my vote don't matter. Well, it does. I spoke about the Brett Kavanaugh in the Bill Cosby episode. Talk about Brett Kavanaugh. I talked about how Brett Kavanaugh, he was accused of rape, and of course he's been exonerated of that, and he's been elected to the Supreme Court. Very big movement because it was a very big part into reversing Roe versus Wade. But I told you, I said, listen, that is a lifetime appointment. That's not an appointment where he's just going to be there for a few months. He's up for re-election. Once he's put in that place, that's a lifetime appointment. And he also was going to be put in place to make very big changes. Change to laws, change to your every single day life, more specifically to you, women, as you see right now. But if you're choosing not to vote, if you're choosing to think that your vote doesn't matter, that suppressing your vote is okay, then you're choosing to relinquish your rights. And we don't know more what other rights that may be taken away. Think about this. This new abortion law goes well beyond taking the right away from women to be abortion. This new abortion law is much bigger than that. It's much deeper. How about the right of privacy? Think about that for a second. Is your right to privacy being impeded on? Is it being invaded? How are you feeling about that? How do you feel about your local congressman, governor, senator, sitting into your doctor's appointments with you, hanging out in your bedroom when you're having sex, and the whole time making decisions about the outcome of that appointment or that sexual encounter? Just give you something to think about. Thank you for checking out the Past to Present podcast. I'm your host, Alan Great. As always, please hit me up on Facebook, Past, Present, or Instagram, Alan the Great. You can probably see it on the screen right now. Hit me up anytime. Also, hit the comment section below. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree, disagree, got other opinions? Maybe I didn't really convince you too much. Whatever you think is, wherever you feel, I would love to hear from you on the subject. And as always, I appreciate your time. Hit that subscribe button, ring those bells so you get notifications for every time a new episode is released. I appreciate all of you for watching, for being here with me. Without further ado, I have nothing less to say other than stay tuned.